But you let him invest his heart and soul and his money and his time, and then you sit up in front of this court and in front of me as a woman and suggest, oh, you just did that to get what you wanted to get out of it. What does he want to get out of it?
I knew it. Go find your baby daddy. Put somebody else on child support. I want my money back. I want my money back. I told you I wasn't the father of that child. Knew it from the beginning.
You still have a doubt?
Yes, quite a few. First off, their DNA test doesn't mean anything considering the fact that she's cheated on me with more than one person. There could be other guys out there. That's just one.
That's the plot twist.
Mr. Benning is a stand-up guy who always dreamed of having a daughter. He's been there for his 2-year-old daughter, Robin, from day one. But there's just one problem. He's got doubts about her paternity. And to make matters worse, he's also questioning whether he's the father of his 6-month-old son, Jermaine Jr.
Mr. Benning, you recently appeared in couples court and it was confirmed that the defendant cheated on you. This infidelity has caused questions regarding your 2-year-old daughter, Robin, and 6-month-old son, Jermaine Jr.'s paternity. Although you are hopeful that both are your children, you now have doubts. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Benning's ex, Ms. Bodine, cheated on him, but she claims that he is the father of both kids and has evidence to back it up. Doesn't make much sense now, does it? But hey, let's see how this unfolds.
Ms. Bodine, you claim you are certain the plaintiff is Robin and Jermaine Jr.'s father and have evidence to support your claim. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Benning just poured his heart out to the judge, explaining how important it is for him to have a daughter. He lost his mother at a young age, and having a daughter was his way of honoring her memory. He's been there for Robin every step of the way.
So tell me about the day you first found out she was pregnant.
Well, when she first came home and told me she was pregnant, I was excited, you know what I mean? Especially once we found out that it was a girl. That's something that I've always wanted. That like hyped me up. You know, I couldn't ask for anything else than that. That's my world.
That was a huge twist. Ms. Bodine drops a bombshell. She admits to cheating on Mr. Benning. And to make matters worse, she received a text from another guy while she was in labor claiming that he's the father of Robin. That's basically the definition of bad timing.
There could be other guys out there. That's just one, you know?
Now, that's the plot twist.
As well as, Your Honor, anytime that something is wrong, I'm also reminded, oh, you're not her father. As soon as we start to argue, you're not her father. But if you need something, I'm
You
the father.
say stuff to hurt my feelings. Why can't
Have I
do
ever
it
told
to
you that you're not the parent of your kid?
You can't. I pushed him out.
Hold on, folks. Ms. Bodine says she's certain that Mr. Benning is the father of both kids. She even got another guy tested, and surprise, surprise, he's not the father. But Mr. Benning ain't buying it. He's got trust issues, and who can blame him? Those doubts are eating away at him, and it's clearly tearing him apart.
So, Mr. Benning, explain what the doubt feels like, having to live with it every day.
Yeah, I have to change her diaper and look at her and play with her, and she's calling me daddy, and there's something in the back of my head saying she might not be. You know, there's a text message on my phone saying she's not yours.
This is about to get real. The first set of results are in, and it's not looking good for Mr. Benning. The court determines that he is not the father of 2-year-old Robin. The room falls silent as Mr. Benning tries to hold back his tears.
Mr. Benning, you are not the father. I'm very sorry.
It doesn't matter, I'm still gonna be there.
But wait, there's more. The judge senses Mr. Benning's doubts about Jermaine Jr.'s paternity and decides to put those to rest once and for all. Will this be the moment of truth that Mr. Benning has been waiting for? Or do nice guys really finish last?
Mr. Benning, you are not the father.
What the?
Oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Benning.
I got cribs and playpens and toys, and I've done everything that I do, and...
Ms. Bodine, do you know who Jermaine Jr.'s father is?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Deggs is a man who thought he had found love with his childhood sweetheart, Ms. Guerin. But little did he know, his world was about to be turned upside down.
Mr. Deggs, you are here today hoping you are the biological father of the defendant's 3-year-old son, Jason. You have petitioned the court for paternity tests because you claim your ex, Ms. Guerin, first led you to believe that you were Jason's dad, but when the baby was 6 months old, she confessed that you may not be the biological father. You say Jason is the most important thing in your life, and you are praying the results today turn out in your favor.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Deggs finds out that not only did his best friend sleep with his girlfriend, but his own brother did too. Ouch, that's gotta hurt. But wait, it gets even messier. Ms. Guerin admits to cheating on Mr. Deggs because she felt neglected.
Now, Ms. Guerin, you admit you slept with another man at the time your son was conceived, but you say that was only after the plaintiff strayed. You too are unsure about your son's paternity and are desperate for today's results. Now, Mr. Deggs, when did you first find out Ms. Guerin cheated on you?
We were together about a year. At the time, we were moving out of my best friend's apartment.
Fast forward to Ms. Guerin finding out she's pregnant. Mr. Deggs is there by her side, ready to be the best dad he can be. But there was a secret lurking in the shadows. Ms. Guerin had doubts about the paternity of their child.
And he left me in the apartment all the time with a roommate that he knew was attracted to me and wanted to be with me.
And so you did what? You're home and the best friend's home.
Well, we were drinking and he was showing interest in me, made me feel pretty, and was giving me everything at the time that Jason was not, was actually
Because
being
I was
a
at
friend.
work.
And
In that one day at work, he gave you everything Mr. Deggs never gave you?
no.
But here's the kicker, folks. Ms. Guerin kept this secret from Mr. Deggs for 6 whole months. 6 months. She let him believe he was the father, all while knowing there was doubt. Talk about a betrayal of trust.
I moved you in.
And
You
somebody
paid
else.
nothing. You were taken care of.
You worked for
did.
the
You
newspaper.
moved out of your mom's. Yeah.
So you're
I
like
did work
barely
for the
making it in
newspaper,
an
but still.
apartment.
All right. You two
very
might
slow,
not
my
know
brother.
how
You're super
to
intelligent.
respect each other outside of the courtroom, but in this courtroom, we must remain respectful.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now,
And here's Mr. Felton, Ms. Guerin's new boyfriend. He claims to have stepped up as a father figure to Jason, even though he knows he's not the biological father. Props to him for being there for the child, but let's see what Mr. Deggs feels about it.
She has the nerve to wait.
Mr. Deggs, you thought this child was yours.
Something.
Yes, Your Honor, I sure did.
No doubts in your mind. You're going
No
on
doubts
about
at
your
all.
life
Ready
with
to get
your
my
new
family
baby.
established. Make the family
Even
that
though
I
he was
never
telling me
had.
how much of a cheater I was, how bad I was, everything, you're just
Yeah, because I was still hurt.
okay.
But I was trying to...
Okay.
All right, it's time for the big reveal. The DNA results are ready. Will Mr. Deggs be Jason's biological father, or will he have to say goodbye to the child he's grown to love?
Mr. Deggs, you are not the father.
And that's for the best. Honestly, it's for the best because he has only stayed this long so that he could get whatever benefit he's getting out of it.
Benefit?
But honestly,
What
Your
benefit
Honor,
am I getting?
Wait.
Taking
No.
care of a 3-year-old child.
I am disgusted that you would perpetrate this lie on this man.
Maurice and Miss Yancey are a couple who are at odds over the paternity of their 7-month-old son, Kahari. Maurice is convinced that he's not the father, and Miss Yancey is desperate to prove him wrong. It's a classic case of he said, she said, but with a twist.
Ms. Yancey, you are here to save your family by proving to your boyfriend that he fathered your 7-month-old son, Kahari. You testify that his paternity denial is tearing you apart. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, let's talk about the nature of their relationship before Miss Yancey got pregnant. It's a bit of a roller coaster, folks. They were on again, off again, and even had a little friends with benefits situation going on. I mean, who hangs out at the gas station these days? But hey, to each their own.
So, Ms. Yancey, tell us why this court date is so important.
Well, it's important because, we've been having a few issues ever since my baby was born. It would go, he was there through the entire pregnancy, and we would go back and forth after the baby was born about, the baby doesn't look like him, the baby looks like me, or...
So things took a turn when Miss Yancey started seeing someone else, and Maurice wasn't too happy about it. He even went as far as following her around and causing a scene. I mean, come on, Maurice. We're not in high school anymore. But hey, love makes us do crazy things.
Where are you at with this?
Right now, Your Honor, it's hard, because I do love her and all. And throughout the whole relationship, we always talked about having a child together. But, now it's like we're at a point where it's a child, but I possibly might not be the father, so it kind of hurts. So.
And Kahari is 7 months old, and you worried about, is it your baby?
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Yancey finds out she's pregnant, and she drops the bombshell on Maurice. She sends him a text saying that the baby might not be his. But Maurice, being the stand-up guy that he is, decides to stick around and be there for the baby regardless.
And all this stuff came out. He started cussing me out and texting me and calling me out my name. And
Well, yeah, I
he
mean,
was
if
following me
you're
in my car.
If you're in a relationship with
We
somebody,
weren't in a
you don't go
relationship
and
like-
give another man a ride and not
But I
bring it up.
thought y'all said you all were broken
Right,
up.
exactly. When we were breaking up,
That's not
to
correct.
me, I felt like we were over.
If we were over,
and I told him that multiple times.
The baby is born, and Maurice is overcome with emotions. He's happy, he's excited, but there's just one problem. He thinks the baby looks more like Miss Yancey than him. Maurice, buddy, I hate to break it to you, but babies tend to look like their moms too. It's called genetics.
we were sitting at my mom's house, and she came and she said that she took a pregnancy test and she's pregnant. And I'm like, I was happy for the simple fact that over the years we were trying to conceive and have a baby. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, yes, it finally happened. And then after she told me, she left and texted me that the baby might not be mine.
That's correct.
Oh!
Things are getting really interesting. Miss Yancey decides to take a family trip to Fresno, and Maurice stumbles upon some pictures of the baby with another man. Miss Yancey, you should have told him about that sooner. Secrets have a way of coming back to haunt you.
Was Mr. Thomas supportive when you were pregnant with Kahari? Was he there for you?
Yes, Your Honor, absolutely.
The whole way?
The whole way.
Even though you sent that text back and said it might not be your child?
Yes, I explained to him.
Maurice is clearly hurt and feels betrayed. He's questioning everything now, and you can't blame him. But here's the thing. Miss Yancey claims that the other man could potentially be the father, and that he wants to be involved in Kahari's life. Maurice, on the other hand, is ready to step back and let the other man take over.
The whole way?
The whole way.
Even though you sent that text back and said it might not be your child?
Yes, I explained to him that, I was skeptical.
And even though she was skeptical, she told me, and I had my doubts, but at the same time, it was like the 50% chance it is mine. I don't want to have the son, born in this world without being there for him. So regardless, I stepped up and
Right, as you should.
chose to be there for her.
All right, folks, it's time for the moment we've all been waiting for. The DNA results are in, and it's time to find out the truth. Will Maurice be the father he's always wanted to be, or will he have to step aside and let another man take over?
Mr. Thomas, you are not the father. I'm very sorry.
It's okay, Your Honor. It's all right. I mean, I still love her, and I still love him at the end of the day. But if she wants to build a father-son relationship with Kahari and the other man, then I feel like there's no need for me to try to build.
Mr. Matlock is a hard-working man who had to go out of town for some family business. But little did he know, while he was away, his girlfriend Ms. Monroe decided to invite her ex-lover to move right on into their love nest. The disrespect is heavy in this one, folks, and it only gets worse.
Mr. Matlock.
Yes, ma'am.
You say that a few years back you were suddenly called away on family business.
Yes,
While
Your Honor.
absent, you claim the defendant, Ms. Monroe, invited her former lover to move into your family home.
Yes.
Mr. Matlock claims that he forgave Ms. Monroe, and they resumed their sexual relationship once he returned. But just when things seem to be getting back on track, she drops a bombshell on him. She's pregnant, and there's a chance he might not be the father.
Admit that you have serious doubts about the paternity of your child as well. You argue that when Mr. Matlock left on family business, he stopped answering your phone calls and texts for an entire month.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's not correct.
In your defense, you say you believe he was never coming back again.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Monroe, on the other hand, argues that Mr. Matlock left her high and dry for a whole month, not answering her calls or texts. She thought he was never coming back, so she made the questionable decision to move her ex into their home. Yikes. She just created one messy situation.
You
Call
should
her
still have to
every
talk to
waking
me if
minute,
I'm your
'cause
girlfriend. You
she's
should care.
jealous about-
You
she
should
got
care.
jealous with
If you would have gave me a
every
reason, then I
woman
wouldn't
on
have
the block.
jealousy issues.
Ms. Monroe, when he went out of town, did he voluntarily call you at all while he
No.
was gone?
Live.
Maybe
Not one
Wow.
call.
maybe 2 or 3 times, like the whole time he was gone.
Let's hear from Mr. Matlock. He explains that when he was away, Ms. Monroe informed him that she had moved her ex into their home. Can you imagine finding out that your significant other has replaced you within a week? From their own mouths. That's gotta sting.
I felt something about her. So we worked out the whole situation. We talked about it, we worked it out. I eventually moved back in the house, picking up a sexual relationship with her again.
All right.
Everything was going good for about a month and a half. I get a phone call.
Hold up, folks. Ms. Monroe has a different version of events. She claims that Mr. Matlock was gone for a whole month, not just a week, and she tried calling him multiple times, but he never answered.
You assumed he may not be the father based upon the fact it had been 18 months and you hadn't gotten pregnant.
Yeah, and within
Now-
that little amount of time, I got pregnant.
But is the truth that you really didn't know who the child's father was?
Exactly.
It actually, when I had my 5-year-old, she looked just like my other one. So I assumed that she wasn't his because her and my other child looked exactly alike.
She's a pretty little girl. I'm not saying
I
she's
know
not
she
pretty.
is.
Mr. Matlock returns home, and after some intense discussions, they decide to give their relationship another shot. They even resume their sexual relationship, but just when they thought they were in the clear, Ms. Monroe drops the bombshell that he might not be the father of her child.
At what point did she then claim that you might be the father?
December 31st, 08. Me and her sister are friends.
Okay.
So I call her sister every New Year's. Happy New Year's. What's up? First thing out of her sister's mouth was, what's up is you need to check on your daughter. I didn't even know she had a girl. Matter of fact, when the baby was born, another man was in the hospital room with her when the baby was born.
All right, folks, let's go through this evidence. Mr. Matlock submitted some dates that show when he was intimate with Ms. Monroe and when her ex was in the picture. And guess what? The dates overlap. This means that either of them could be the father. It's a 50-50 chance, folks.
At what point did she then claim that you might be the father?
December 31st, 08. Me and her sister are friends.
Okay.
So I call her sister every New Year's. Happy New Year's. What's up? First thing out of her sister's mouth was, what's up is you need to check on your daughter. I didn't even know she had a girl.
But here's the kicker. Ms. Monroe actually agrees with Mr. Matlock on this one. She admits that she has serious doubts about the paternity of her child. That said, the DNA results are in, and it's time to find out if Mr. Matlock is the father or not.
Mr. Matlock, the wait is over. You are not.
I knew it. Go find your baby daddy. Put somebody else on child support. I want my money back. I want my money back. I told you I wasn't the father of that child. Knew it from the beginning. Trifling.
So we've seen a handful of good men who've been taken through the ringer by their partners. What we haven't seen is two good people who've taken each other through the ringer. Until now, we've got Ms. Davis, a strong and confident woman who claims that Mr. Cole is the father of her adorable daughter, Autumn.
Ms. Davis, you say that after accepting your daughter, Autumn, Mr. Cole abruptly ended your relationship, moved out of your home, and is now denying her. You say Mr. Cole is the only man who could be Autumn's father, and you intend to prove paternity today. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Here's Ms. Davis, looking fierce and determined as she takes the stand. She's hurt, angry, and disappointed that Mr. Cole is suddenly denying their daughter. She insists that he's the only man she's been with since February. But Mr. Cole, on the other hand, is questioning everything. He's got doubts and claims that Ms. Davis is untrustworthy and sneaky.
You say there are too many facts that don't add up, and there is no way you are her child's father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so Ms. Davis, how does it feel knowing Mr. Cole is denying your daughter?
I feel hurt, angry, disappointed how he all of a sudden not claiming my daughter. He is the only man that I've been with since February.
Ms. Davis reveals that she found out she was pregnant on March 21st, just 4 weeks after she and Mr. Cole got intimate. She even submitted a calendar to the court, highlighting their moments of passion. But wait, there's a twist. Mr. Cole starts getting messages from random people claiming that he might not be the father.
Anything she asks for, I do for the baby.
But you deny you are her biological father.
I'm just questioning right now because ever since I met her, she's been lying to me about stuff. You know, people been texting her, random people been walking up to me, asking me stuff about it. And I just came here to get the truth and move on.
Hold up. We've got a witness, folks. Ms. Davis's twin sister, Ashley, takes the stand. She drops a bombshell, claiming that her sister admitted to having sex with another guy just 2 days before getting intimate with Mr. Cole. Oh, snap. This is getting juicier by the second.
On this calendar, in yellow, it indicates when you were intimate with Mr. Cole, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you started having sex with him here, and then on the 21st, you find out you're 4 weeks pregnant. And he was the only man you were with during that time.
Yes, Your Honor.
The tension in the courtroom is reaching its peak, folks. Ms. Davis is adamant that Mr. Cole is the father, while he's still questioning everything. But guys, Mr. Cole signed the birth certificate, legally making him Autumn's father.
So this is a copy of the birth certificate here.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Cole, at some point, your name got on it.
Yeah, like 2 months after she was born. Because my family had got in my head and she looks just like you, that's your twin.
And you accepted Autumn as yours, or you still had doubts?
I accepted her as mine.
You did?
Yes.
Because your family had convinced you?
Yes, ma'am, but...
All right, folks, it's time for the moment everyone had been waiting for. The DNA results are in. From love to doubt, anger to disappointment, it was finally time for the truth. Judge Lake, would you do the honors?
Mr. Cole, you are not the father. Ms. Davis, would you like to finally just lay it on the line and tell the truth?
It hurts. It's embarrassing. I thought he was the father.
this is one of these defining moments in your life.
If they are cheating, you can always count on paternity court to get them exposed. Ms. Robinson was wrapped up in the tales of her mother from her wildlife back when her mom was younger. Ms. Robinson was suing her mother for paternity fraud and was determined to prove that the man on her birth certificate was not her father. Could her mom be innocent?
Ms. Robinson, you are suing your mother for paternity fraud and are here to prove that Mr. Moore is your biological father, even though your mother put another man's name on your birth certificate. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Ms. Harris, you're certain Mr. Moore is not your daughter's father and claim her case of paternity fraud is outrageous.
Yes.
You could tell Ms. Robinson wasn't going to go easy on her mom. The first words are out of her mouth, and she's already pointing fingers at her mom. She claimed that when she was younger and wanted to find the real identity of her dad, her mother never wanted her to know the truth, but Ms. Harms wasn't ready to play nice either.
Tried to ask her about my father. I guess it was a part of her past she didn't just want to bring up, so it always got pushed to the back burner. Or I was told, get the hell out of her face, leave her alone, don't ask any questions about it, you know who your dad is.
She's lying. I've always told her who her dad was. And to my knowledge,
who was supposed to be my dad?
It's not Mr. Moore.
Like I said, her mother wasn't ready to play nice one bit. She was furious that her daughter wasn't ready to believe that she knew who her real father was. She knew for a fact that the man Ms. Robinson was claiming to be her father stood no chance of being her father because she remembered moving on from their relationship before she had her baby.
He is not your father.
When you say you had already moved on, explain that. You're saying you moved on from
Mr. Moore. I never thought he was a father because I had already moved on, Your Honor.
So you're saying you got pregnant after you already moved on away from him, so there's no way he could be your biological father, so you didn't even feel like there was any reason to entertain that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Regardless of how certain Ms. Harms was about the identity of Ms. Robinson's father, her daughter was just not ready to believe her. Her mind was hell-bent on what she believed because while she grew up, a lot of people told her stories about how there was a possibility she could have two possible fathers.
You first hear about Mr. Moore being a possible biological father?
The first time I heard about it was kind of weird because I was young and I was just told that he's not your father.
Your Honor, excuse me, Your Honor, she thought that? Why would it take her 36 years?
Because no one lets me talk.
Wait, I wanted to finish the story because
nobody lets me talk. I mean, never. What kid doesn't want to know their father?
With that revelation, Ms. Harms sure has a lot of explaining to do. You could see it in Ms. Robinson's eyes that the messy situation hurt her so badly. I mean, who wouldn't want to know who their birth father is? But the big question still remains. Why did her mother keep it a secret?
I could not imagine my life without him in it.
That's all I want.
And when you say I never had that, I feel for you because I know what you're missing. I really do, and I see the tears in your eyes, even at 36.
Other people take it for, I'm glad that you can say you had your father, but you have empathy to know how I could feel about it.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of people have their fathers and they'll look at me like, I don't even like my daddy. Girl, you better without him. No, I could be better with him.
Even with all that pressure from the judge and her daughter, Ms. Harms still insisted her daughter had no clue as to what she believed was true. Being very furious, Ms. Robinson decides to introduce some evidence to back up her claim. Oh, trust me, she came fully prepared to win this battle against her mom.
The father's spot, it has a signature. Now, when I looked at that, I seen that the signature looked new. It didn't look as old as my mom's signature on there. But I'm a kid, so I went along with it. Last year, I needed to get a new ID. So I go to get a new ID, and they told me that my original birth certificate there was not good enough. I needed to get the new one. When I got the new birth certificate, it did not have a father's name.
Boy, was that some evidence? Ms. Robinson sure wasn't ready to play any games. Talk about a brawl between mother and daughter. That piece of evidence brought in some heavy amount of confusion between the both of them. But was that the only evidence Ms. Robinson had up her sleeve? Well,
why I think we look alike.
So this is a picture of
me and Mr. Moore.
You on the left and Mr. Moore on the right.
And I also have another picture of our noses, Your Honor, when I was younger.
Oh, Lord.
This is side by side.
Every time I look in the mirror, ever since I looked at his pictures, I feel like Mr. Moore with a wig on.
That definitely answers that question. Nothing in this world could come in the way of Ms. Robinson's determination to know who her biological father is. The judge finally asked the man Ms. Robinson believes to be her father to come into the courtroom. Here's how that situation played out.
And she's indicated through her testimony that you believe you are her biological father. Do you?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
You do?
Yes.
Tell the court why.
Well, Your Honor, she used to babysit her sister's kids, and I used to go there a lot, and we were having sex a lot. It wasn't no little bit. It's true. And so a few months later, I know a little pouch on the belly.
That definitely complicates the entire situation. Mr. Moore had quite a lot to say about Ms. Harms. She had been keeping a lot of secrets from her daughter, and Mr. Moore was here with the shotgun to let it all out. Now, hold your breaths, people, because more truth bombs are coming your way.
Because I didn't have anything to do with her no more.
And when I seen him when I was 12, that's exactly what I told him.
Yeah.
You remember that day?
I remember.
He pulled up on me. I was walking to the store. He said, "Hey, girl, I'm your daddy."
You said, "I'm your daddy"?
Yeah.
I said, "What's your name?" He said, "Vernon." I'm like, "Oh, that's Vernon. You ain't my daddy. My mama told me to tell you to leave me alone." He said, "Girl, I'm your daddy. Your mama crazy."
Why don't we wrap up all this craziness between mother and daughter? Ms. Harms can lie all she wants, but the DNA results will always reveal the truth. Speaking of DNA results, here it comes.
Mr. Moore, you are not her father.
Oh my God. Dude, who is my daddy? I cannot.
So let's go get the other one and come right back here and do this again.
My courtroom is always open for you, Miss Robinson. If there is someone else you'd like to test.
When you talk about a messy situation, this definitely fits the description. For this couple, this wasn't their first rodeo within the walls of the paternity courtroom. Mr. McCrory had reason to doubt the paternity of one of his kids. To make things even worse, their marriage was on the verge of being over. Did his wife betray him again?
Mr. McCrory, after you and your wife received shocking results in this courtroom surrounding your daughter's paternity, you returned home and realized you have good reason to doubt your son Keith's paternity. And now your marriage is on the rocks.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. McCrory, you claim your daughter's results surprised you, but you're confident your husband fathered your 3-year-old son, and you hope to prove it today. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, that was surprising. Looks like Mr. McCrory's wife might have stabbed him in the back once again. With all that cheating, they definitely need couples therapy. At least she admitted to cheating on her husband, so that's a good start. But what else lies in her world of secrets?
That wasn't even like cold, like it was, we just broke up. Like, I mean, if me and her, you know, if something happens to her and she dies today, I'm not gonna have a new woman in the bed 3 days later because, you know, the death do us part. I couldn't get a hold of her. I called her and for 2 days she ignored me. Finally, I get a hold of her and there's a guy in the background and she's claiming it's her brother.
I'm not even going to hold my tongue on this, but Mrs. McCrory is one crazy lady. First, she admits to cheating. Now, she lies to her husband, saying the man she cheated on him with is her brother. Wow, to that! Even after having unprotected sex, she still believes Mr. McCrory is the father of their child.
Because I just 1,000% know that's his child right there. That's his kid. It's gonna come back. It's gonna come back. It's his child. You can tell. Look at it.
And so you just felt like you didn't have to tell the whole truth because you were so certain Keith Jr. was.
And it's just, I feel that it's not, everyone's making it seem like it's cheating. I wasn't with him, it's not cheating.
No, we're past the cheating part. We're on the paternity part.
She messed up the first time. What's to say she can't make the same mistake again? Even the judge finds it difficult to believe her certainty about the baby's paternity, but you can trust Judge Lauren to get to the bottom of any situation. She presses further and asks Mr. McCrory how he found out she slept with someone else.
And see, the thing is the potential father, she would promise him, say she'd send him pictures and stuff like that, but she said she promised me she wasn't sending him pictures.
What kind of pictures are these?
Your Honor, I have pictures that she puts on Facebook all the time. That, you know, some of them are old, but some of them were recent. I mean,
let me see those, Ron, even though I'm not sure.
If I caught my wife posting those kinds of pictures, I would definitely want to end my marriage. Believe me, the plot of their story thickens as Mr. McCrory tells the judge that the man she slept with was their mutual friend. At this point, does Mr. McCrory even want to stay in the marriage?
This was supposed to be my friend and her friend. He comes over our house, he chills out, he would come to the house and drink with us and crash on the couch for the night.
And this is the person she slept with?
Yes, Your Honor. If she's lying to me and it's not my son, I'm not gonna stay with her, I'm gonna leave her. I mean, I'm not gonna be with somebody who lied to me about my son.
So the stakes are that high?
Yes.
For him to be in the courtroom, let's just say he still cares enough to want to be in the marriage. When Mr. McCrory initially found out she was pregnant, he was very excited to be the father of the baby. Who wouldn't be? But the doubts just wouldn't allow him to accept the child with his heart and soul.
My name's on the birth certificate. I have that with me here today.
You brought the birth certificate?
I got a copy of it.
Let me see that. Ron, can you hand it to me?
I mean, and I was excited when Keith was born. I've always wanted a son that I can give my last name to that can share that that bond of a junior, and they can pass that on to his son.
The truth is, because she did have unprotected sex with somebody else, it's possible that this little boy is not yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
That was quite dramatic. Who knew Mrs. McCrory was such an emotional woman? Her tears weren't going to stop the case from moving forward. Mrs. McCrory just wasn't ready to believe that there could be another possible father to her child. Even though she cheated, she was beyond certain the child belonged to her husband.
I would think that way. I mean, like I said, like in the beginning it was positive, this one, but there's other options. And then towards the, at the time of court and after court, it was bouncing back and forth. You know, let's write this person, let's write that person. And then talking to, you know, the possible, of Nevaeh, you know, the possible father, writing back and forth about your kid looks like my kid.
Of course I'm gonna do that when I'm trying to find out who her dad is.
Her beliefs and certainty meant nothing to Mr. McCrory. He was filled with so much doubt about who the father of the child was. His doubts got so bad that he asked Mrs. McCrory to take a lie detector test. The results from that will leave you speechless. Take a look.
One man you admitted to your husband. You admitted that you did.
Yeah, I did.
Who is that person?
To someone else. It was mistakes when I got together, so he shouldn't be over there shaking his head because he's no better.
All right. Ms. McCrory, you were then asked if you sent racy pictures to anyone other than your husband in the last 4 years. You admitted that you did.
Wow, an absolute wow. Mrs. McCrory has been lying to her husband about almost everything. Has anything she said in that courtroom been true? At this point, it's quite hard to believe her. The judge then goes on to ask her if she's ready to come clean and tell her husband the truth. Is she going to come clean?
Is there anything you'd like to add? Do you have anything you want to share? Do you want to share with your husband? Maybe something you haven't told him to let him know that you're trying to be truthful.
I am truthful. I've been truthful. Well, I mean, other than that lie, I'm not gonna. I mean, it's not really a lie because it's like we weren't together. I mean, we got back together. Why should I have to tell him?
She still believes she's telling the truth. Hilarious. Well, let's take Mr. McCrory out of the seat of his wife's lies and betrayal. What DNA results are in stock for him? Is his marriage going to be saved?
Mr. McCrory, you are the father.
Yeah, I told you so.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm happy for you. You have a beautiful little boy, you have Nevaeh, and you're married. For better or for worse, this may be your worst.
Are your minds ready to be blown? Well, I hope so, because this case will definitely blow your mind. Ms. Anthony claimed her love affair with the defendant was short-term, and a baby was the end product of their time together. She is furious that the defendant is denying a baby they were happy to bring into the world. What could be his reason for denying the baby?
Ms. Anthony, you claim you had a short-term relationship with the defendant, Mr. Pourciau, who was initially excited when you told him you were pregnant. But now you are furious he is denying your 8-month-old son, Matthew. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Pourciau, you say you've never taken Ms. Anthony seriously, and she herself confessed to sleeping with other men during the time of conception.
Were they in love? Were they not in love? It was very hard to tell which from which. Initially, Ms. Anthony told Mr. Pourciau that he wasn't the father of her child. In her defense, she claimed he was in a very bad place in his life, and she didn't want to complicate it further.
And that the child was not his, but Your Honor, he was not in a very good place in his life. He was partying, and I was partying too, but once I found out I was pregnant, I put all those things aside and did what I had to.
And so wait, did you tell him he was the father at first, or that he wasn't?
Yes, he was there when I took the pregnancy test.
But she told me that I wasn't the father.
She definitely did a horrible job trying not to complicate his life any further, that's for sure. Ms. Anthony believed she was in a romantic relationship with Mr. Pourciau, but Mr. Pourciau stopped her right before she could finish and said their relationship was just about parties.
We had mainly a party relationship, to be honest with you. Like, that's what our relationship consisted of. No, we didn't argue and all that, but neither one of us were ready to be in a relationship nor have a child.
But it was a sexual relationship.
Yes, it was.
Were you using protection?
No, Your Honor, we were not.
As to the type of relationship they had, let's just leave the answer as very complicated. They then get to the debate of what happened when Ms. Anthony found out she was pregnant. Here's how that little episode played out.
You take a test and he's with you?
Yes, ma'am.
But when you took the test and it came back positive, you immediately told him you're not the father?
Oh, no, not immediately.
All right, tell me what happened then.
Well, we went to bed that night, and I laid there all night and was like, I can't do this. My son deserves better, or my child, at the point I didn't know it was a boy, but my child deserves better than this. I don't know what to do.
After she took the test, she looked me dead in my face and was like, it's not yours.
Be that as it may, Ms. Anthony now regrets her decision to lie to Mr. Pourciau about being the father of her baby. At the time, she felt he was a party freak and wasn't going to do anything for both her and her child. Let's now get down to business. Did she have a sexual relationship with someone else?
And all this is after she told me that she was pregnant with another man's child, and I wasn't the father. I was trying to stay around.
No, those
to
were
help her
before,
take
honey. Don't you
care
sit there
of
and
the
lie.
child.
That April 8th and the April 4th were before. That middle one was after.
Because I met you in late March, no, actually late February, and you supposedly got pregnant early March.
No, I did not supposedly get pregnant early March. My due date was...
Well, that was definitely unexpected. Now, Mr. Pourciau had a witness, and this witness was none other than his husband. Oh, trust me, you had that right. Mr. Pourciau got bored of hanging out with women, and he decided to switch sides. Moving on, here's what Mr. Pourciau's husband had to say about the whole situation.
Honestly, Your Honor, I wasn't there, obviously, when they did what they did, but I was told from Miss Anthony herself, my husband had gone away for a couple months, and I was holding down things at home. I was holding him down where he was, and I needed a little bit of help because I ran short. I called Miss Anthony. She met me down, in fact, at the very same place that they met, at the bus terminal.
That revelation definitely took me by surprise. Apparently, Mr. Pourciau wasn't the only one she told that the baby did not belong to him. She also told his husband. She wasn't denying that it was a mistake on her path, but she claimed she did it for the safety of her child. If that's the case, why is her story changing all of a sudden?
That is true. I did say that. You have to understand where I was coming from as a mother. You have to, and it was wrong of me. The decision I made was not right in any way, shape, or form. I understand that. But at that point in time, I thought that I was doing what was best for my child. I thought that I was making the best decision because he wasn't ready to be a parent.
Actually, my husband can attest to this, that all I want to be is a parent.
Another truth bomb strikes the floors of the courtroom. Just like we thought, there was another man in the mix of her story. Mr. Pourciau's name wasn't signed on the birth certificate because the other man she was intimate with was present with her when she gave birth to her child.
That time, I'm so confused. You told him he wasn't. At the time the child was born, were you telling him he was the father?
I told him he wasn't at that time.
So he wasn't present for the birth?
No, he was not, and I feel wrong. I stripped him of that, and that was wrong.
The man that was present for the birth signed the birth certificate.
Yes, ma'am.
And he's who I was told was the father.
And
so there was another man at the hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
So much for trying to keep the relationship private. There's only one thing left, and I'm sure you know what that is. If Ms. Anthony is telling the truth, I'm sure the DNA results will back her up real good. Let's finally get the answers we've been waiting for, shall we?
Mr. Pourciau, you are the father. That's the first time I've seen you smile today, Mr. Pourciau.
on his end and on my end, basically makes the child my stepchild.
It does.
I work.
At least she didn't deny the fact that she was intimate with more than one man. Ms. Bryson was in court to prove to the defendant Mr. McCarroll was the father of her child. Due to her admission of sleeping with another man, Mr. McCarroll wasn't ready to accept her child. Could there be more to their story?
Ms. Bryson, you have dragged the defendant, your ex-boyfriend, Mr. McCarroll, into court today because although you admit to having sex with more than one man, you are here with proof that Mr. McCarroll is the father of your 18-month-old son, Zylan McCarroll. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
There is definitely more to their story. Ms. Bryson wasted no time telling the courtroom that Mr. McCarroll was a cheat. She claimed she wanted nothing more than to get married to Mr. McCarroll, but for some reason, he just wasn't ready to tie the nut with Ms. Bryson.
Are you just trying to say he cheats on you a lot?
Yes, every time we're together, he cheats. I wanted us to get married, okay? And he doesn't want to do that.
Yes, I tried
because
to
he wants to be a whore.
I tried to structure everything about my life to make it where we would never have to be here in this situation, where she would never have to worry about who her baby daddy was or none of that crazy stuff.
I was definitely expecting them to get into an argument, and they didn't let me down. Mr. McCarroll accused Ms. Bryson of putting him in an uncomfortable situation where she had no idea who the father of her child was. Does she not really know who the baby daddy is?
Oh, you're a savior now.
I'm not a savior.
He thinks he is.
I'm not a savior, but I could have avoided this situation.
How could you have avoided that?
I could have avoided this by working and going to school and trying to make a better way for her.
And every time he worked.
And hold on, why is it you weren't able to do that?
Oh my God. I can't talk to my mother on the phone. I can't read a book without getting put out, cursed out.
Wow. I do not want to find myself married to any of these two. Their marriage was nothing short of a train wreck. I see them, and I find myself asking, did they ever love each other? Anyway, Ms. Bryson wasn't ready to pull the brakes on her accusations. She still insisted Mr. McCarroll was a cheat, even though he kept saying he wasn't.
Downstairs too long, I'm too quiet. I'm reading a book. What you want me to do, man?
The reason I came downstairs, I heard him on the phone with a girl that he had currently slept with. And we got into it about that situation.
Man,
and
how do you know that was a girl
anytime I
currently slept with?
I talked to her. He was telling her she upstairs sleep with the baby. When I get a chance to get out, I'm gonna come over and we gone.
After that revelation, let's just say Mr. McCarroll and Ms. Bryson were both guilty of cheating. Ms. Bryson was trying to sell a different story to the judge, and she claimed that even though she was in a relationship with someone else, she couldn't say no to Mr. McCarroll anytime he wanted to sleep with her.
Thank you.
No,
Takes two.
No. Your Honor,
Yeah.
I braided his hair. He came over. I asked the guy that I was in a relationship with, could I do his hair? He said yes. He came over and was flirting on me, touching on me. Every time we speak on the phone, I try to call and let him talk to the kids. Every time that we speak on the phone, he always flirts.
The case hasn't even gone halfway, and the word cheating has already been mentioned 100 times. You don't need me to say it. They definitely aren't a good fit for each other. But Ms. Bryson was hurt by the whole situation. She blamed Mr. McCarroll for making her cheat with so many guys. Was it really his fault, though?
I wanted to have a family with him. I wanted to get married to him. Like I said, I've been with him since I was 18. I love him. Any man I ever talked to know that I love him, okay? I wanted to have a son. I wanted to get married. He didn't want to give it to me. He didn't want to settle down, okay? Yes, and I got it. And obviously ain't no man gonna be included in it because I haven't tried to even get into a relationship because I know I'm still hung over him.
I don't know about you, but Ms. Bryson might be right to blame Mr. McCarroll for her misdeeds. Even though she had been with other guys, she knew for a fact that Mr. McCarroll was the father of her baby. As to what evidence she had, here's how that played out in the courtroom.
You're handing up a calendar.
Yes, ma'am. That's a conception calendar.
Okay.
Based on that calendar, I conceived my son on April the 28th.
In blue is the date you were intimate with Mr. McCarroll.
Yes, ma'am.
Actual
and
date,
now
I want to
in
know how
pink,
you know that.
you have outlined the window of conception that you calculated.
Yes,
4 different pregnancy tests coming out as positive. Oh, she was pregnant, all right. As much as she believed Mr. McCarroll was her child's father, Mr. McCarroll claimed he had no memory of being intimate during the period Ms. Bryson claimed to have conceived the baby.
Mr. McCarroll,
yes,
do you remember having sex with Miss Bryson on the 28th?
No, ma'am. We were having sex around that time, but on the 28th specifically, I can't say that. She might have been with that guy then. I have no idea.
The truth is, you all were separated at that time. You had another girlfriend you were dealing with?
Yes, Your Honor, yes.
Okay.
There's about to be a game changer in the courtroom. Judge Lauren asks the other potential baby daddy to come into the courtroom and give his 2 cents about what really went down while he was intimate with Ms. Bryson.
No, I do not, Your Honor.
Why?
Because at the same time she was with me, she was messing around with him. And I lost my train of thought just thinking about the stuff.
It makes you upset.
Yeah, because I found out that she was messing around on me. She told me she was 99% sure that he was the father.
Boy, did he have a lot to say. Ms. Bryson was cheating on him too? I am speechless. It's the last lap, and the DNA results for both men are sitting pretty with the judge. Who's the father going to be? My bet is on Mr. McCarroll. Am I going to be wrong?
Mr. Perkins, you are not the father. Mr. McCarroll, you are not the father.
Man, case closed. I ain't got no more to say. Say no more.
They both weren't the father? Wow. It's a disappointing day for Ms. Bryson, and you can see it written all over her face.
Calendar was wrong. And my ultrasounds, I showed both of them my ultrasound. Everything said I got pregnant in April. That's what I was worried about. So I obviously got pregnant in May.
Is Zylan McCarroll's father? Do you know?
Yes, ma'am. I obviously got pregnant in May. I thought I got pregnant in April. I was real early, so I know who it is.
There was a lot more to the mix than the regular old story of trying to find out who the father of the child is. Ms. Parker was beyond certain that the defendant fathered her child, even though he had a girlfriend. Mr. Morton, the defendant, however, claimed the timeline for her pregnancy just didn't add up. Could Ms. Parker be trying to pin the baby on him?
In your suit, you claim Mr. Morton fathered your 7-month-old son, Aaron, while in a relationship with his current girlfriend.
Yes, Your Honor.
You say the only reason he denies paternity is because his girlfriend turned him against you because she's been unable to conceive a child with him.
Yes, Your Honor.
In In addition to the paternity test, you're suing for $2,047 in back child expenses.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, I wasn't expecting to hear that. Now the judge is amazed by the fact that Ms. Parker got intimate with Mr. Morton knowing he had a girlfriend. She then proceeds to ask what kind of relationship Ms. Parker had with Mr. Morton, and what she says leaves the entire courtroom in shock.
We're having
We've
sex
had
with...
sex. I have sex with both of them.
With Mr. Morton?
And Mrs. Lemon.
And his girlfriend?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes.
Oh, so a threesome at the same time, or you have two separate relationships?
Threesome at the same time, separate relationship. If I don't want to have sex with her and I want to have sex with him, that's what happens.
Oh, okay. It just got interesting.
She was able to have sex with us is because I asked my boyfriend to have sex with her because she was lonely.
That definitely complicates the whole situation. Looks like their freakiness was going a little over the roof. The fact that they were all sleeping with each other didn't change Mr. Morton's mind. Oh, trust me, he still believed he could not be the father of Ms. Parker's child, which begs the question, why does he have doubts?
When were you intimate with Ms. Parker? During the window?
The week of Mother's Day, May 11th, I believe.
You're intimate that day?
The only intimacy we had on Mother's Day was oral sex, Your Honor. How you gonna get pregnant off of oral sex, Your Honor?
Judge.
When was Aaron born?
December 5th.
So December 5th.
Judging from that situation, Judge Lauren was definitely not going to get the answers she was looking for. A news story enters the mix and complicates things even further. Mr. Parker's girlfriend claims she had a totally different guy she was sleeping with. But is Ms. Parker going to deny the allegation?
She had to keep reminding him that it's not yours, boo, it's not yours. I had sex with you after he was already in my stomach.
Exactly, I said.
But you told us that you didn't have sex with nobody
I just
after
said
you got
I didn't
pregnant.
have unprotected sex.
Let's get some control. I want to understand this story. Your testimony, Ms. Parker, is that you weren't intimate with anyone else during that time?
I did not have unprotected sex.
At least she didn't deny getting intimate with another man. Now we know there is a possibility that there might be two fathers. Ms. Parker then tries to clear the air of doubt by dropping a truth bomb. She claims she had a miscarriage before getting pregnant for Mr. Morton.
Ms. Parker, you stated that you weren't having unprotected sex with anyone else.
Yes.
But you're saying you only have unprotected sex with Mr. Morton.
Yes, Your Honor, yes. Let me explain my side of the story, because I'm trying to,
Yeah.
Before my boyfriend went away, I was pregnant by him. That's what they're getting confused. I had a whole miscarriage, Your Honor. A whole miscarriage by this man.
Now, all of a sudden.
I sure wasn't buying the whole miscarriage story, and trust me, the judge wasn't either. Moving on from all that drama, Ms. Parker finds out she's pregnant, and at the first instant, she tells Mr. Morton the baby isn't his. After having an appointment with her doctor, things change.
I'm not gonna lie, I told him, this is not your baby. Being as though I have a sonogram telling me I'm 13 weeks. So when I go to my first prenatal appointment, they give me a fetal assessment, and they say, no, miss, you're 8 weeks pregnant. Your baby is due December the 24th.
So you went to your appointment and then your due date got adjusted?
Yes.
So initially, when you got pregnant, they gave you a certain due date?
Yes, ma'am.
Who knew a child's due date could be changed? Oh well, in Ms. Parker's case, that's exactly what happened. Aside from the fact that he was denying her and the baby, Ms. Parker was also upset because he had not helped out with the finances of taking care of her child. And spoiler alert, he loved taking care of other people's kids.
This feeling that he steps up to the plate and takes care of other people's children,
Yeah, so
but
why
does
should
not properly take care of baby Aaron is the basis of your suit.
Right.
You're suing for $2,047 in child care expenses, things you've spent on baby Aaron since he's been born, and you say Mr. Morton's done nothing.
Besides $30 and she hand me down.
The whole situation in the courtroom is about to change, folks. And trust me, you will be left in shock. Ms. Parker brings a witness to the courtroom, and guess who that witness is? None other than Mr. Morton's mother. I bet you weren't expecting that to happen now, were you?
So it is your belief that baby Aaron is your grandchild?
Yes, that's us all the way.
Have you witnessed your son connect with this child?
Yes.
And you've connected with the child?
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Morton's mother sure had a lot to say about their love triangle. The crazy thing about this case was Mr. Morton's mother believed the baby was her grandchild. She even went on to say all her family members Parker's accepted the baby, so she has no idea why her son doesn't want to.
We do accept him without a doubt.
Without doubt.
Without a doubt. I don't share his doubts because that's ours. That's a
She
more.
wouldn't know my doubts, Your Honor. My mother don't know anything about the situation. Every time I try to put her into the situation, she don't want to bother.
Where are we going from here with
Well, I'm gonna tell you where I'm going from this. When you read them DNA tests and they tell you that that's that man's son, I'm going to child support. That's where I'm going with this. I'm going straight downtown.
High time we brought their three-way sexual escapades to a close, right? There's a baby who needs to have a father. Let's see if the envelope is going to give us a shocker.
Mr. Morton, you are Aaron's father.
Thank you. I told you, like, I'm not no, come on.
To care for that child, and Miss Parker is entitled to half of the child care expenses she has incurred thus far. You admit.
There's just something about the name Parker and very messy situations. Mr. Montgomery was beyond upset that Ms. Parker led him to believe he was the father of her child. After playing the daddy role for 3 months, she jumps out of the blue and says her fiancé is the new father. What's making her change her mind?
Mr. Montgomery, you say Miss Parker led you to believe that you fathered her 3-month-old son, Timothy Montgomery. You say you were present at the birth, named the baby, signed the birth certificate, but now Miss Parker says you're not the father.
Yes, Your Honor.
You've petitioned the court for a DNA test to prove that, in fact, you are Timothy's father.
Mr. Montgomery seemed to be quite certain he was the father of her child. He starts off by going on a long rant about how he has been the most supportive father ever and how his name is on the child's birth certificate. But Ms. Parker is hell-bent on proving he is not the father of her child.
It's my son, I was there, through the pregnancy. She allowed me to sit there and sign the birth certificate. And what the funny part is,
because
she allowed me
to
name the son after my deceased father.
Miss Parker, why would you allow him to do all of these things? Sign the birth certificate? At that time, did you or did you not believe he was Timothy's
I thought he was the father.
The cat is definitely out of the box. She was sleeping with both men at the same time. Way to go, Ms. Parker. She did admit that for a while, she believed that Mr. Montgomery was her baby's father. The judge then asks how she managed to end up in bed with 2 different men, and the courtroom goes up in flames.
I was with Mark, and he was always on Xbox. He wouldn't even have sex with me during the whole pregnancy because he felt weird.
So you're in a relationship, you're not happy. You feel like he's paying more attention to
I was
me and
game
her first met, it wasn't even like that. He wasn't even in the picture from what I've said.
You are
He done left.
He pried on my girlfriend when I was
One
with
at
her.
a time.
Thank God the judge came to the rescue because both men were ready to rip each other in half. Even with Judge Lauren telling both men to take a chill pill, they still couldn't stop yelling at each other. It felt like a wrestling match between Mr. Montgomery and Ms. Parker's fiancé.
Trust and believe, my son will have what he needs.
That's funny because I'm the one down there right now putting diapers on his ass, buying formula, buying clothes.
Back and you bet on my girl, homie.
So
I asked because I had a feeling.
Before you got pregnant, you ended up with Mr. Lanou, right?
Your Honor,
So how did that happen?
Mark.
The first time he had left was the first time me and her had met. Throughout the whole time,
Yeah,
even
broke up
told
with
him
me.
that we were sleeping together after he
No, they
came back.
didn't.
They finally decide to tone down their voices. I never thought that a time would come when both men would quit yelling at each other. With the yelling out of the way, the judge decides to ask Ms. Parker why Mr. Montgomery was present at the birth and not her fiancé. Well, here's how that story went.
Holding him for the first time, I bring him to, her face, so she can see him because she had a C-section. I'm sitting there crying. I even told myself that, when he was born, I was like, I'm not gonna cry. Was I nervous? No, I was excited because the simple fact of the matter, I was told that I was gonna be a father. And unlike most men, I was damn proud to hear that I was gonna be a father.
Judging from that revelation, you could only feel sorry for Mr. Montgomery. He definitely had high hopes of becoming a father. Ms. Parker's fiancé, on the other hand, was riding a different train. He claimed he was furious about the whole situation but couldn't do anything about it.
Mr. Montgomery went through all of the motions, got to be at the hospital.
It still hurts.
He named the baby after his father. I mean, he's doing the most.
I actually was going to show up to the hospital, but out of respect for her and that unborn child, refused to because I know that it would have caused a disturbance between me and him.
It was really hard to believe her fiancé. He didn't even sound that convincing. Now, who's been stepping up as the father of the child? Is it Mr. Montgomery, the man who desperately wants to be the father, or Ms. Parker's fiancé? That's the question the judge is trying to figure out. But was she going to get the answer she was looking for?
Mr. Montgomery, you haven't been stepping up? Is that by choice?
She wanted me out.
I did.
And I granted her wish. She sat there and came to me, I told her, I was like, you just don't seem like you want to be with me no more. She said, I don't. She told me she would
Because
rather
you
be
were
with Luke
cheating.
because, no, she said she would rather be with Luke because he was the more possible father of the child.
There were definitely no answers waiting for the judge, that's for sure. Ms. Parker is then asked what she's going to do if she finds out the baby belongs to Mr. Montgomery. In her defense, she claims she's going to let him visit but not spend so much time with the child, but Mr. Montgomery has bigger plans.
Mr. Montgomery is in fact Timothy's biological father. What then?
I will let him see him.
You'll let him be a part of his life?
I would. Just not, taking him places, far away.
I want to be able to spend days, weeks, months, years. I want to teach my son right from wrong. I want to pass my father's legacy that he passed on to me, on to my son, to him.
You don't need me to tell you, Mr. Montgomery and Ms. Parker are going to suck at being co-parents. The big question on everyone's mind now is how she is so certain that the child belongs to her fiancé and not Mr. Montgomery. What could possibly be her reason?
Do you really want Timothy to be Mr. Lanew's child
Yes, I
because
do.
you want to be with Mr. Lanew?
Because he is honestly more active with all three of my kids. I want him to be Timothy's father. He's more interactive.
Wanting and having a reasonable basis to believe he's the father are two different things.
He's
You want
not
him to
the
be
father. I want to be with him.
At this point, there's really no point for the judge to keep dragging the whole situation any further. It's been a whole mess, and the only way out is the results hidden behind the envelope. Are the results going to be in Mr. Montgomery's favor? Let's find out.
Mr. Montgomery, you are not the father. Mr. Lanew, you are the father.
In my eyes, that's still my son. I was there for his birth. I sat there and was there for the first month and a half of his life.
In this situation, Ms. Hubbard wanted to prove to the court that the defendant was the father of her 2-year-old daughter, but she didn't stop there. She was also seeking 2 years' worth of child support from the defendant. Mr. Watson Jr. claimed he couldn't be the father. Could he be trying to deny the baby?
Ms. Hubbard, you've petitioned the court for a DNA test to prove to Mr. Watson Jr. that he is the father of your 2-year-old daughter, Amiria Hubbard.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're also seeking 2 years' worth of child care expenses in the amount of $2,150.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Watson, you say you know you are not the father of Ms. Hubbard's daughter.
Let's just say she felt more hurt than anger. She claimed it wasn't easy on her side, having to take care of 5 children and her disabled mother all by herself. Even the judge couldn't hide how sorry she felt for Ms. Hubbard.
He hasn't contributed to anything. He hasn't done anything for her. Nothing.
You're doing this by yourself?
Yes, ma'am. I'm taking care of my 5 children and my disabled mother by myself. And
How hard has it been for you?
Very hard.
I see the tears in your eyes.
Yeah, very hard.
Oh, stop.
When I was pregnant with her, he came around and he was supposed to give me some money because I had took him somewhere. He didn't want to give me some gas money.
Mr. Watson Jr. sure has a lot of explaining to do. Ms. Hubbard told the judge that he sold her a dream of wanting to be there and take care of her and her child. But in real life, he never wanted to be part of their lives. Well, guess what? Mr. Watson Jr. didn't deny the accusations. So where did it all go wrong?
Mr. Watson, is that true? Have you done anything for this child?
No, ma'am, I haven't done anything for the child.
You admit you've done nothing?
Yes, ma'am.
Why is that, sir?
Because I don't think this is my baby.
You don't?
It is not my baby, because she lied.
But your
You
family
had sex with Miss Hubbard,
But your family members
Right, but she
Did
lied.
you use protection?
No, ma'am. But this was way before.
And
She
his
lied.
family members
She lied about her
accepted-
dates.
That revelation definitely took everyone by surprise. One thing was for sure, though. Mr. Watson Jr. came very prepared to defend himself. He brought out a calendar that detailed the time frame in which Miss Hubbard claimed she was pregnant. Here's how that played out.
She told you she was 3 months pregnant
Right.
in August.
Right.
And then you say in October, she told you she was 3 months pregnant again?
Again, yes. So I'm like, who does that? Why should I believe that's my baby?
But that's a lot of months to be 3 months
That's what I'm
pregnant.
saying. That's what I'm saying. He don't even know.
Miss Hubbard, can you explain this? No.
After that back and forth, I can only ask, how did these two even get into a relationship with each other? Mr. Watson Jr. then goes on to express further why he feels Ms. Hubbard is trying to pin the baby on him, and trust me, he had more truth bombs to reveal.
She was pregnant. She was 3 months pregnant. I was like, oh, okay, so I know she probably be pregnant because we did have unprotected sex, so I rode with it. Okay, so September, she sold me an ultrasound. And the ultrasound, she supposed to be, what, about 4 months? Ultrasound looked like the baby was like about ready to come out, like 7 months. So I'm like, you cannot be 4 months. No. Look at that baby head.
I did tell you he had more truth bombs up his sleeve, but here's where things get a little tricky. All this while, Ms. Hubbard believed they were in a romantic relationship because she really liked him. But for Mr. Watson Jr., that was not the case. Even while he was with her, he was cheating with several women. Oops!
Was this an exclusive relationship? Did you all say we're committed, we're boyfriend and girlfriend?
Yeah, we was together. No. We was together, but he was still cheating. He a dog.
Only time I wanted to be.
He still had females. Okay. He was living in a rooming house with a female. He still had females. He talking about they just his friend. I used to stay catching him, but like after when I caught him after we had sex on Valentine's Day, I was done. I was over.
That was a lot to handle if you ask me. Now the dynamic of their story takes a new turn. Mr. Watson Jr. drops another truth bomb in the courtroom and claims he is certain he wasn't the only man Ms. Hubbard was intimate with. Hold up, there was another man?
I ain't want to look at it because, it's a diary. Might hurt my feelings. So Temptation told me to go and look at it. I went on and look at it. First page, I see she was talking about her first love, I flipped to another page, it had a condom pack on it. And explaining the dude that she had sex with, how his sex was and everything. Okay, I flipped to another page, flipped to another, was another condom pack. Right there, so
on the diary?
Now, that was some evidence. Looks like he wasn't lying after all. When Ms. Hubbard found out she was pregnant, what did he do? She told Mr. Watson Jr. immediately, and as you would expect, he denied it to her face. Here is what she did after his denial.
Did you go to any of the doctor's appointments? You showed the ultrasound? Did you show up for that?
No, she lied the first time.
I didn't see him no more. I didn't see him no more until he asked me to do his hair, and he came over there and he had brought some clothes with him at my house to do his hair. When he had left, he left his outfit. Then I ain't my baby. I ain't got time to pay her nothing. I said, okay, well, let me go on here and sell this little nice outfit.
She has definitely been through a lot. It hurts her so bad that in no time she bursts into tears as she talks about how Mr. Watson Jr.'s family accepts her and the child. But for some reason, he just doesn't want to accept the baby.
His family members even accept my child. He the only one that don't accept her.
Well, that's because you lied.
You're saying, Miss Hubbard, that this is upsetting you because you say his whole family.
Yes, and he keeping her away. He don't even want her around his other kids. He don't even claim her. Sometimes he claim her on Facebook, then he get mad, that ain't his baby, then he make a show about it. But that's his child.
For her sake, I hope Mr. Watson Jr. ends up being the father of her child because he has put her through so much. The results from the DNA are in. It's high time we got a verdict from the judge, so here it comes.
Mr. Watson, you are Amaria's father.
Deadbeat. Like I told you. Right.
Sorry. You've been lying on them dates.
I'm straight.
You've been lying on them dates. And I'm willing to take care of her. Along with my other 2 kids, I promise.
I'm straight.
Talk about a messy situation. This would definitely go down as the messiest to ever exist. Ms. Streeter found herself in the courtroom trying to prove that her child belonged to the defendant who lied to her about his marriage. At least the defendant wasn't denying the affair, but was he going to accept the baby?
Ms. Streeter, you claim that during your relationship with the defendant, he convinced you to get pregnant with his child, but what you didn't know is that he was a married man.
Yes, Your Honor.
You say Mr. Hartfield is only denying the child in order to save his marriage. Mr. Hartfield, you say you made a mistake by having an affair, but you know you are not the father of Ms. Streeter's child. You claim that Ms. Streeter was openly sleeping with other men besides you.
As you would expect, Ms. Streeter and Mr. Hartfield, the defendant, were not going to go down telling the same story. On one side, Ms. Streeter claimed Mr. Hartfield told her he wanted to have a family with her. On the other hand, Mr. Hartfield denied all accusations, claiming Ms. Streeter was nothing but delusional.
We went to the hospital when we got the birth control taken out together. We went together.
She's telling you guys a bunch of lies. A whole lot of lies. That's convincing. If I didn't know any better, I'd be convinced.
What is true?
That's definitely not the truth. We went in and took a birth control out together. That's definitely not true.
We planned this child, and when we even planned the date, I had an app on my phone that tracked my ovulation, and we knew what we was doing when we was having sex.
One thing was for sure, though. Mr. Hartfield's hands weren't innocent. How are you married, and you end up having an affair with someone else? In his defense, he claimed he never kept the fact that he was married a secret from Ms. Streeter, but was that really true?
He's trying to make it seem like we was never in a relationship and that this never happened, but he just texted me just recently trying to get back with me, trying to tell me he want to be with me.
Oh my God.
So that's
Is that true, sir?
No, it is not.
I have a text
to be with
message right
Ms.
here.
Streeter?
He texted me last night. I have the proof right here.
I'd like to see that. You say he texted you?
He texted me earlier this week.
After that piece of evidence, Mr. Hartfield was definitely lying through his teeth. Even Judge Lauren couldn't hide her irritation any longer. He was trying to make the situation look like he was the victim. But come on, Mr. Hartfield. We're too grown for all that. Just tell the truth.
That is true. I did send those messages.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I did.
But he's a married man.
Hold on. Let me explain to you why. Because of this game that she and I like to play, that she likes to play. If I don't do that, Dominique goes ballistic. And we weren't playing this game, but now that we're in court, it seemed like some old man has been trying to hit on a young lady. But I'm telling you, that is not true.
Oh well, looks like the judge might have to hit him with tougher questions before he tells the truth. What the judge wanted to know now was, what happened when Ms. Streeter told Mr. Hartfield she was pregnant?
It was planned. It was expected. He was excited. He wanted a baby.
Please.
That was the whole point.
This is the situation. Dominique deals with so many guys, okay? She found one that was an older guy, and she thought that I would be a cake daddy, or however you want to call it. The thing is that she found out, hey, you're dealing with a guy that ain't got no money, so now you waste your time.
That's not true. That's not true.
Mr. Hartfield sure knows how to lie. At this point, the judge is done listening to whatever stories he's telling in the courtroom. She proceeds to ask Mr. Hartfield's wife if she had any idea her husband was fooling around with Mrs. Streeter. Here's how that drama played out.
All of these details and the fact he's still texting this 22-year-old young woman?
No, he did not.
How did you even find out about this entire affair?
The text message that I received from her.
You get a text message?
A random text message that says, I'm in a relationship with your husband and have been for 8 months, and I'm pregnant. And that's it.
It's really not surprising he kept the whole affair from his wife. I mean, who in their right mind would tell their wife they had an affair? The mind-blowing thing about this drama between Mr. Hartfield and Ms. Streeter was that he was actually excited to have the baby.
He was there when the baby was born. He was excited, like, you know, this my baby, this my boy. I never got to see none of my kids born. I want to be with you. Let's make this work. We got a child. He needs to be in the house with both parents.
Were you telling her these things, Mr. Hartfield?
No.
I tried to get him to sign the birth certificate. The reason why, he signed it at first, but it was time for the witness to see us, and he like, you too anxious about me signing this birth certificate.
Could you imagine that? His name was actually signed on the child's birth certificate. Wow. All hands were pointing at Mr. Hartfield. In trying to change the topic, he drops a truth bomb, claiming he wasn't the only man Ms. Streeter was sleeping with.
Oh, now it's her fault.
Because I never got her support or anything.
Not only that,
that's a fact.
He had more girlfriends than he was
that.
talking to me. When I first met him, he had a lot of women he talked to.
Of course.
A lot.
Of course.
It was a...
Of course.
So not only was it me, it was other people.
Let the truth come out. That's exactly what I said.
Mr. Hartfield was definitely not expecting that to come to bite him in the ass. Isn't Mr. Hartfield tired of all these lies? Because I definitely am. Anyway, you can only hide the truth for so long till it bursts out, and the DNA results are about to do just that.
Mr. Hartfield, you are the father.
Okay, that's cool. That's okay.
Do you understand now what you just made a child with?
Right.
No, look at me. I don't know what he told you up until this point. I will say that con men like him, they can be very charismatic. You two are both very beautiful young women.
Ms. Henny cheated on her partner, Mr. Fye, with his childhood best friend. And now Mr. Fye wants to know if the 2 children he had with Ms. Henny belongs to him or belongs to his brother from another mother. Of course, this has traumatized Mr. Fye endlessly, and you can see the trauma in his face as he talks about it.
Your Honor, these kids, they call me daddy every day. Kind of hurts me because as they got older, kids don't look like me.
They do look exactly like
They don't look like me. I mean, Nathan, he's got different features than what I have. And, you know, little Sammy, he kind of looks more like Nathan too. They both look alike. And, you know, little Sammy's got my full name, except for he's the 4th. And I don't think it's right.
Wow, that is very painful. And then Mr. Fye explains how his partner, Ms. Henny, cheated on him with his friend just because he was gone for 45 days. Can you imagine the anguish this poor man must be feeling right now?
People, even friends, told me that she was messing around with a guy from the neighborhood.
We were not messing around.
That's not what my friends told me, but when I confronted the gentleman about it, he came, you know, I was on the phone with him, and he told me they did mess around twice. Well, when I confronted her about it, she denied it, so I had him on the cell phone. And then when I confronted her with the cell phone with him on it, she started crying, and then she admitted to me she cheated on me once.
So yes, Ms. Henny admitted to cheating on her boyfriend, but that is not where it ended. She also says it only happened about 2 months before she got pregnant. But would you believe her? Would you believe anything a cheating partner told you? Mr. Fye clearly does not believe that, and he has his reasons.
Mr. Fye, you don't seem to be buying that.
No, Your Honor.
Why?
Because I've caught recent text messages in her phone of her talking to her ex-boyfriends. And, you know, we've been together for for 6 years on and off. And every time we've split up, we wasn't even split up a week or two and she was already messing around with some other guy.
All right, so you have doubts surrounding both children.
Those sound like good reasons for doubting if your kids are really yours. But then Mr. Fye decides to become a physiognomy expert and starts measuring skulls to explain why he thinks Ms. Henny's children are not his, which made him sound like a certain mustached German.
I have an oval-shaped head, okay, Your Honor? My ears are close to my head. He has a block head. I mean, his ears have a dip in them. I don't have none of them.
I'm sorry, but I have dips in my ears. He has my ears.
I don't have big ears like he does. His sticks out more, and he has that block head. I don't have a block head. Mine's more of an oval shape, like an egg.
So you're saying your head is an oval shape?
Yes, Your Honor.
Looks like Judge Lauren Lake is not buying that either. Anyway, let the judge ask the real question that has been on everyone's mind since this case started. And it is simple.
Ms. Henny, how did you end up sleeping with your boyfriend's close friend?
Our kids hung out. When he went away for that 45 days, we were hanging out with our kids, and it didn't start out that way, but it's just one thing led to another, and
45 days is only a month and a half.
Yeah.
So were you all in a good relationship when he went away?
I mean, not really.
Exactly right, Judge. Exactly right. If it takes just 45 days of being apart from your woman for her to jump in another person's bed, then you have got something else coming. So let us ask another burning question.
This friend was over with the kids. One thing led to another. You say you slept with him. How many times?
Once.
He told me twice.
He confessed this to you?
Yes, Your Honor. I suspected them messing around because I was gone, and him and his girlfriend had split up right before I left too. But when I asked her, she told me, oh, I went over and set up a play date. I told her I didn't know setting up a play date is what you guys call it nowadays.
Well, that is some play date, you'd say. Anyway, Mr. Fye says he believes that his friend Nadahan is the father of both children and that Ms. Henny slept with this friend multiple times to make both babies. That is insane, but Ms. Henny denies it. However, Mr. Fye has evidence.
And why do you know she's lying?
Because, I mean, the guy told me he messed around with her twice already.
Because he said twice. You think it's...
And I mean, she's never lied to me in the past before. And then when I was, when we split up, that's who she ran back to. 3 weeks after him and her, got done, me and her got back together, and that's when she said she was pregnant with Sammy.
There was like a 2-month difference between any pregnancy and me cheating on him.
Ms. Henny insists that Mr. Fye is the father, but Mr. Fye is not buying that story at all. Ms. Henny also has her evidence that the kids belong to Mr. Fye, and you could never guess what that evidence is.
I have their birth certificates that he signed.
I'd like to see those. Jerome?
She cheated on me 4 times, Your
It was
Honor.
not 4 times, it was 1
4
time.
times?
4 times.
1 time.
So these are the birth certificates for the children. The first, Nathan James Fye. Father's name, Samuel John Fye III. The second child, Samuel John Fye IV. Father, Samuel John Fye III.
Really? 4 times? Really? And a birth certificate cannot be evidence that a man is the biological father of a child when there is a credible paternity doubt. So Ms. Henny is just flat out wrong on this one. Anyway, let us get to the bottom of this case and find out if Mr. Fye is really the father of both of these kids.
Mr. Fye, you are the father.
Who does it look like who?
Mr. Fye, you are the father.
Change what name?
Did you have sexual intercourse with anyone other? You said no. The lie detector determined that you were being truthful.
Ms. James says that she asked Mrs. Beverdorf to take a DNA test 3 times to prove that she is the mother of her deceased son's Darylee's child, but Ms. Bevsdorf refused. Therefore, she is certain that Ms. Beverdorf is a liar and that Dakari is not really her grandchild. Of course, this denial has affected Ms. Beverdorf a lot.
They don't accept him, they don't accept me. I'm just ready for him to have acceptance, love. I want it to be real, not fake. I want him to, just feel like that's all family. Everybody's family, not just my side, not just their side. I want it to be genuine, and I just know once I get these test results, it will be genuine, and everybody will really know the truth. I want him to know and to really have proof that that is his father. I'd never want him to doubt that.
Okay, Ms. James, let us hear from you. Ms. James insists that Ms. Beverdorf was always fighting with her son, and they were always breaking up, and she constantly saw other people outside of her son. But Ms. Beverdorf argues that this was a lie.
I've never been seen with anybody else. I've never been with anybody else.
You haven't been seen with anybody else, but when you were living in the house with us, you were gone. You're gone 2 weeks, and I'm like, where's Kayla?
No, I was gone 2 weeks.
Where?
With my
someone
sister,
else?
at my sister's house.
And when my
Wasn't with
son came
anybody
to
else.
your house, she came outside to talk to him, but she wouldn't let him in the house, and she made him leave.
Wow. okay. Ms. Beverdorf says that she dated Daryl for 4.5 years before having his baby, but Ms. James here insists that something like that never happened. You kind of get the feeling that Ms. James here really does not like Ms. Beverdorf. Here is how she says she found out that Ms. Beverdorf was even pregnant.
They had broken up, and 2 weeks she was gone, and then she came back the next week, and
I was
her
already
and my
pregnant,
son,
Your Honor. I was already
and the
pregnant.
next week she came back, Your Honor, and now they're telling me that she was pregnant. And you want me to say, well, okay?
I was already pregnant when me and him split up for the 2 weeks.
But I mean, respectfully, how does Ms. James know that?
She leaves for a couple of weeks, come back and telling me she's pregnant.
Oh. Okay then. Moving on. Ms. Beverdorf says that Daryl always believed that the child was his, but Ms. James disputes this because somehow Daryl did not sign the birth certificate with his name on it. If he truly believed the child was his, would that happen? Really? This is getting really confusing. And here is what Ms. James thinks.
You missed the birth certificate signing, but she's gonna come back to our room for you to sign it. He said, okay. By that time, we were so excited bringing in the new baby. We didn't even remember about the birth certificate.
I asked him prior, almost 2 weeks to him dying, to sign that birth certificate because
she didn't know when he was gonna die.
I didn't.
She did not know.
I'm just saying. I wanted,
So
and you
2
know
weeks
that I
prior,
told
that
him.
Well, that is not a great sight. Imagine the young boy at the center of all this, growing up and watching his mother argue with his potential grandmother this way. Anyway, the point of the argument is that Daryl expressed doubts that the child was his. And then Ms. James drops a bomb on the court by saying this.
For the simple fact of now I have tried to get DNA 3 times.
She never tried 3 times.
Yes, I have, Your Honor. You know why she don't know about 3 times?
She never tried to get no DNA
because she
test.
never shows up.
She never
What
met
happened?
me nowhere. We never even had that as
I didn't have to meet you nowhere.
She never
I told
called,
you what
she
the
never
place
said
was.
anything.
Ms. James, take me through each time.
If this is true, then it becomes super likely that the baby does not belong to Daryl and instead belongs to another man. Because think about it, why would he refuse to sign the birth certificate? Absolutely no reason. Anyway, Judge Lauren wants to know about these 3 times, and Ms. James is very happy to spill.
The first time that I recall telling Kayla about getting the DNA, my son had crossed over. He had died. In the process of him dying, Your Honor, 2 weeks, I told her to go get his Social Security. We went down there. They told us we needed a DNA so that we can prove that he was his because he didn't sign the birth certificate.
Ms. Beverdorf denies that this happened and says that if she denied the DNA test, why would she come to paternity court then? And that is a great question, except for the tiny fact that liars come to paternity court all the time. Then both women start arguing and screaming at each other again.
When are you all coming home?
They were never supposed to go to Omaha. They were supposed to go to
But you knew
St.
I wanted to
Louis,
go see my
Missouri.
brother.
They were never supposed to go to
So,
Omaha.
Your Honor?
She kept my son for like 2.5 weeks.
I surely did.
On that Sunday.
I surely did,
that
Your
she
Honor.
brought him. Either
I
she was
surely
going to
did.
bring me my child Sunday or I was going to call.
You did call the police on us.
No, I didn't. You don't even have a case. If I would have called the police, you would have a case against you.
No matter how you look at it, all of this is just nasty. And somehow, it even gets worse because believe it or not, these women live in the same house. That is right, the same house. And here is how Ms. James explains it.
She lives with me in my home. And when she came in the
She lives with you now?
Yes.
Whoa!
Temporarily.
Ms. James, why did you take Ms. Beversdorf in if you don't believe McCarroll is your son's biological child?
By God's law.
It don't have nothing to do with that.
Wow, let us get down to it and figure out the truth. Is Daryl the father or someone else? Let us see what the DNA test has to say about this absolutely insane case. Who is the real father? Judge Lauren has an answer.
The percentage of relatedness between Mrs. Jacqueline James and Dakari is 99%. You are related.
I'm sorry, Kayla. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Mr. Jallet caught Ms. Tillis sending naked pictures to other men while they were together, so he is absolutely certain that he is not the father of her child. Asides that, he also has medical evidence proving that the child is not his. In the meantime, Mr. Jallet has abandoned the child and done nothing for him. Here is how Ms. Tillis says it.
The day my son was born, he has done nothing for my child.
Nothing?
Nothing at all.
Not a dollar?
Not a dollar.
Tell the court what that has been like for you.
I'm struggling. I have to do it all by myself. I'm not working right now.
So precious. Ms. Tillis, I know this has been difficult. I can only imagine. I'm a mother. 2 months in, you are still dealing with postpartum issues.
This sounds sad, but Mr. Jallet does not really care. To him, this child is not his, and he refuses to do anything for the child. He says he does not want to take up another man's responsibilities.
Mr. Jallet, did you turn your back on the baby?
No, Your Honor. Basically, we had a conversation, and like I told her, I refused to take up the next man's slack for a child that's not mine. We wasn't even having relations when she got pregnant.
So, what was the nature of your relationship?
We were having sex because we got history.
Apparently, Mr. Jallet was only sleeping with Ms. Tillis. And as we all know, once you are only sleeping with someone, it is against the law for that person to get pregnant. Great argument, Mr. Jallet. Ms. Tillis used to braid our man's hair, and Mr. Jallet used to sleep with her. It was simply braiding with benefits. That is literally what they called it.
So this started a committed relationship? You met?
I thought it was a committed
Did you date, or you just braided his hair and then decided I'm moving in?
Thank you. Braiding with benefits.
So obviously,
it's not
you
like
all had a relationship. If she was over there all the time, Mr. Jallet.
We had a situationship. The situation was she was an in-house braider, but at the same time, even back then.
And now they have to negotiate the potential result of that braiding with benefits in paternity court. This went on for 2 whole years, by the way. Anyway, Mr. Jallet gets to the point of why he thinks this baby does not belong to him, and it is bonkers.
Why am I looking at your phone and you got nude pictures going to your ex?
Miss Tillis, were you sending naked pictures to your ex while you were living in his house and saying he was your boyfriend? She was also having sex with someone else during the window of time that Jadens was conceived.
It's very possible, Your Honor, because I said we've been doing this off and on since 2011.
So there are 2 issues. First, why is Mr. Jallet angry that his braider with benefits is also giving some other chap benefits? And 2, so Ms. Tillis admits that she slept with another man while she was in this situationship? What? Anyway, Ms. Tillis clarifies that point for us.
During the window of time when Jadens was conceived, were you all intimate during that time?
Yes, this is the time where we were working together. We were on and off.
So you and your ex rekindled your relationship or friendship, whatever it was?
It was a friendship. We weren't
But you started having sex with him as well?
Yes, but it was just one time, and we used protection.
So say.
Well, that is a very weird sort of friendship, wouldn't you say? I don't know about you, but Ms. Tillis is not looking good here at all. But Mr. Jallet has even more evidence to prove that he isn't this baby's father. And it is the strangest sort of evidence we have ever seen on paternity court.
My father, myself, and my 3 sons all have what the old folk call a wisdom hole in our right ear at the top. We're born with it. It's a handsome child that she has, but he doesn't have the trait that me, my father, nor my sons have.
It's a pre-auricular sinus. Pre-auricular sinuses in the United States is estimated to be 0 to 0.9%.
And then we get a shocking confession from Ms. Tillis. She once insisted that Mr. Jallet is the only possibility, but now it seems like there could be at least one more possibility. Here is how she puts it.
So you did mess with the other guy at the end of October?
Yes.
So why, when I asked you, did you think he was a possibility, you said no?
Because we used protection. It wasn't, I messed with him in October too. The beginning of February.
And the first conception date they gave you was October 25th?
Yeah, but she wasn't accurate because she didn't know. I asked her, do she know when I conceived?
Okay, that is a bit confusing. The DNA test is the only thing that can bring this case to an end and tell us for certain if the father of this child is Mr. Jallet. And it is time for Judge Lauren to read that test out for us.
Mr. Jallet, you are the father. How does that make you feel, Ms. Tillis?
I'm happy.
Are you?
But I'm emotional at the same time because I went through a lot when I was pregnant.
We could tell.
I apologize.
Ms. Hernandez is in her mid-30s and she loves sleeping with younger men. Today she has dragged one of her younger lovers, who she got married to court to make him take responsibility for her 3-year-old daughter. But this man says that he knows for a fact that Ms. Hernandez was sleeping with another younger man who is his friend, so he cannot be the child's father, and he is also here in court with his girlfriend. Here is their opening interaction.
But you do not believe this is your biological child?
Yes, Your Honor.
Look at her. Look at your 3-year-old daughter that you haven't been there in 3 years.
All right, so pretty much this child is being at least emotionally abandoned. There's some need that she's calling out for and she's getting no response.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, in the court papers, you say you thought you met the man of your dreams. He was a younger man, but you thought he was the man of your dreams.
That is so sad. So here's the thing. Mr. and Mrs. Hernandez once had a great relationship and loved each other very much, but very soon things started falling apart in the weirdest ways. Here is how it all went wrong.
I kicked him out after we had a big argument, and then 2 days later, I told him that I was pregnant with my daughter.
Mr. Hernandez, what is your account?
When we first got together, before she got pregnant, before I found out she was pregnant, I was gone for 2 weeks.
Okay, Mr. Hernandez says that something else happened. He says when he heard that Ms. Hernandez was pregnant, he was told something else that made him start doubting if she was really pregnant with his baby.
I was told that her ex was in the bed.
Someone told you her ex was in your bed?
Yes.
Who? While you're out fishing?
Yes.
Who told you that?
A family member.
A family member of yours or hers?
Mine.
How would they know who I had in my bed?
They seen him.
Yeah, coming out of the house because you and him are friends.
And
you know
that's not
everything.
Her. That's not him.
You know that he was at my house.
It is
even
not
when
him.
you were
I'm
there
not talking
too.
about him.
Basically, Mr. Hernandez is friends with Ms. Hernandez's ex and believes that he is the father of the baby because he slept with Ms. Hernandez while he was away. And he has one more jaw-dropping point to make.
Ms. Hernandez was sleeping with her ex while you were out on this fishing boat.
Yes. And she's even told me when we were separated from the house that she had her ex in the bed.
Nope, that was
She admitted she had her ex in the bed?
Yes, Your Honor. On the phone, she told me that her ex was in the bed.
No.
Wow. Ms. Hernandez says that this ex only comes to her house to speak with her mother, which makes things more weird and not less weird. And this happened throughout their relationship. Gosh. Anyway, Ms. Hernandez sheds more light on this weird relationship she has going on.
This ex is coming in and out of your house frequently, but you say it's to visit your mother.
To visit my mother, yes. Because my mother is like his mother. So, and my ex is young.
You like him young, huh?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
I know that's right. Say it loud and say it proud.
Wow, she really likes them young. Ms. Hernandez says that Mr. Hernandez was really happy about the pregnancy at first, but he changed his mind after the baby was born. And Mr. Hernandez says he has a really good reason for that.
I was happy at first, but then after the pregnancy at the hospital, that is when everything
After
changed.
the birth at the hospital?
Yes, Your Honor.
What happened at the birth?
2 family members came to the hospital and told me that's not my kid.
Two family members of whom? Her family members, yours?
Hers.
Hers?
Who?
Your mother.
Your mom? Oh, wait.
Because my mama doesn't like you.
Well, if your wife's mother tells you that the child your wife just had is not yours, you would be right to start thinking that maybe the child is not actually really yours. But Ms. Hernandez says this is a total lie. The fact that Ms. Hernandez also did not give the baby Mr. Hernandez's last name made him doubt that the child was his.
He wanted me to name her his last name. I didn't want to. Just in case something like this happened, that he denied her.
There you go.
So, Mr. Hernandez, you believe she kept your name off that birth certificate because she knew you weren't the biological father?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, now that is just weird. Anyway, the results are in, and it is time to see who has been telling the truth. Mr. Hernandez or Ms. Hernandez? Let us find out who the father of this beautiful 3-year-old is.
Mr. Hernandez, you are the father.
Told you.
Do you feel a level of remorse and regret because you've pretty much
Yes.
missed 3 years of her life?
Yes.
She's talking. She knows her colors.
And you never called me.
I'm not calling you.
No, we're not doing this. What you're not gonna do is do this.
Mr. Hudson was beyond furious with Ms. Bridges. Why? She led him to believe that he was the biological father of her son, then went on to break his heart by telling him she slept with another man. Ms. Bridges didn't deny the fact that she was intimate with another man, but she had every reason to believe that Mr. Hudson was her child's father.
Mr. Hudson, you claim the defendant led you to believe you were her son, JaCorey's biological father, then dropped a bomb and admitted she slept with someone else.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're in court to prove you are not her son's father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Bridges, you admit to sleeping with another man, but claim that you have no doubt Mr. Hudson is your child's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Ms. Bridges and Mr. Hudson had been together for 5 solid years. Around this period was when Ms. Bridges got pregnant, and Mr. Hudson automatically believed he was the father because, at the time, she was the only one she was sleeping with, or so he was led to believe.
We were together for approximately about 5 years, Your Honor.
Okay. So you were there throughout the pregnancy,
Yes,
and you were
ma'am.
taking care of her. You all lived together.
Yes, ma'am.
You had a relationship.
Yes, Your
So
Honor.
you thought this baby was yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
Were you at the birth?
Yes, Your Honor. I was at the hospital. I took her to doctor's appointments. I was there. I cut the umbilical cord, Your Honor. I even signed the birth certificate on the day of the birth.
The truth bomb couldn't have picked a better time to be dropped, trust me. At one of their son's birthday parties, Mr. Hudson and Ms. Bridges got into a heated argument, and that's when the truth jumped out of Ms. Bridges' mouth that she slept with another man.
When did she drop this bomb?
We had an argument, and that's when she came and she was telling me how I might not be the father and she had done these things. But I paid no attention to them because I am the father. I'm supposed to be the father. I'm here.
Was cheating on me back then, so that's the reason why I did what I did. So yes, I say he might not be the father, but I know he's the father of Jacory.
Since Mr. Hudson found out that his girlfriend cheated on him, he hasn't been in the child's life at all. It's not like he didn't want to be in his son's life, but he claimed he had no way of contacting his child because Ms. Bridges wouldn't let him see the baby.
And what changed that?
I have no way of getting in contact with him. I can't talk to him. I can't see him.
He knows my auntie number. I gave it to him plenty of times. You just making things up, just not to be in the baby's life.
So is it your inability to get in contact with the child really what's holding you back, or is it the fact that you don't truly know?
It's the fact that we don't know, Your Honor.
I mean, Ms. Bridges admitted to cheating, so there was a high chance that there were possibly 2 different men who could be the fathers of the child. The big question now is, what's making her so certain that the child belongs to Mr. Hudson and not the guy she slept with?
I just know, look at my baby, and he been there for us, so it's like, hey,
I've been there, correct. I took care of her when the time when she had no one else to take care of her.
Yes, and I appreciate that.
I took the part.
For everything.
I did everything. She didn't have to do nothing but go to school. I paid all the bills. I worked 2 jobs.
Yes.
At the age of 18.
Mr. Davis, the man she had a sexual relationship with outside of her initial relationship with Mr. Hudson, walks into the courtroom, and his mouth is filled with so many truth bombs, believe me. The crazy thing was that Mr. Davis also thought he was the father of her child.
You believe you're Jacory's biological father?
Yes, I do, for several reasons. Me and Miss Bridges met, we hung out for a couple of months. We ended up having unprotected sex around about 3 times. I didn't know that she was pregnant at all until I looked on Facebook one day, like a year later, and I see a picture of her son. And immediately I think her son looks like my nephew.
Now Ms. Bridges couldn't get her story right with the judge, and it was really starting to piss her off. First, she claimed she knew for a fact that Mr. Hudson was the child, but she left out the part where she also made it known to Mr. Davis that he could also be a potential father.
But you testified earlier that you said you know for sure.
I know for sure it's Mr. Hudson's child. So.
But I mean, if you know that for sure, then what was the point of coming to me and saying anything at all?
Because I was just adding up the dates to see how I was just adding up the dates. He said it was wrong.
Okay, but then you came right back
I came to you.
Hold your breath now, because the DNA test results are ready to be revealed. The tension was escalating, with emotions running high, and the truth was about to hit like a plot twist. Who's the real baby daddy? Let's see.
Mr. Hudson, you are not his father. Mr. Davis, you are not his father. This courtroom is in shock. This is not what anyone expected to know.
There was enough anger to go around in this court case. Ms. Colbert appeared in court, boiling like a volcano, to prove to Mr. Tubbins that he was the only man who could have fathered her twins. But Mr. Tubbins claimed there was no way he could be the father because he found out that she had slept with 2 of his family members.
Ms. Colbert, you've petitioned the court for a DNA test to prove to Mr. Tubbins that he is the father of your 9-month-old twins, Ariel and Adonis Colbert.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Tubbins, you say you know you're not the twins' father and claim that you uncovered that Ms. Colbert slept with not 1, but 2 of your family members.
Yes, sir.
Everyone wanted to know what kind of relationship Mr. Tubbins and Ms. Colbert had that would make her want to sleep with his family members. Well, guess what? They were actually married. They got married about a month after they met each other, and she claimed it was because of Mr. Tubbins' religion.
Your Honor, I am his wife. I married him 1 month after dating, and it was because of his religion issues. He wanted to become married, and because he wanted to use me. He was living in a house with a 2-year-old child with no hot water and no electricity, and I felt bad for him, and I allowed him to come to my house and stay.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, he impregnates me.
But you're his wife now, right?
Yeah, by this time, yes, I'm his wife.
In no time, accusations started to fly about, and the secrets of their relationship started to come to light. After their marriage, less than 3 weeks into the marriage, Ms. Colbert hops out of nowhere and tells Mr. Tubbins she's pregnant, and in his mind, it just doesn't make sense.
About 3 weeks after you married her, she told you she was pregnant.
Yes.
And immediately you questioned the twins.
Yes, because she lied from the beginning. She told me that
The last person that she slept with was 3 months prior before we started trying to get together. Then she turned it from 3 months to 3 weeks.
When did she change the story?
Right before the marriage.
If there's anything Ms. Colbert was sure of, it was the fact that she had the worst taste in men, and getting intimate with Mr. Tubbins was the worst mistake of her life. She claimed he was using her because she loved him and wanted to get him out of a messy position in his life.
He just used me. He was using my truck. He ain't have no way to get around, and I was helping him.
And that's who you chose to sleep with?
It was the worst mistake of my life.
Exactly.
It was the worst mistake of my life.
So you let him move in, then you married him?
Yes, I did. And that was the worst mistake that I ever made in my life.
Mr. Tubbins was still hitting the nail on the head by claiming that Ms. Colbert had slept with his family members. As you would expect, the judge was forced to ask him how he knew something like that happened. His response was nothing short of mind-blowing. He claimed she told him about it.
It was 20 years before me and him got together. When me and him first started dating, I looked on his Facebook and, I was just being nosy because we starting to date. I want to investigate you. So I'm doing my investigation and I see the picture of him and a mutual friend of ours. And come to find out it's his family member. So if we're going to continue on in a relationship, Your Honor, I need to be honest with him.
Newsflash. She didn't just sleep with one of his family members. At least, that's what he was claiming in the courtroom. He said that when they broke up, the other family member came to him and told him that if he had mentioned he wanted to get married to her, he would have advised him against it because he also slept with her.
After we broke up, a family member came to me. He said, well, you know what? If you would have came to me and let me know before, I could have told you all about her.
Oh, really?
And then he told me about...
But now they tell you?
Did this family member say he had also slept with her?
Yes.
So there's one family member from 20 years ago and then this family member?
Yes.
Did she ever tell you about the second family member?
Never.
Miss Colbert, did you sleep with the second family member?
I wouldn't even know what he's talking about.
It was beyond a mess in the courtroom, with Ms. Colbert and Mr. Tubbins yelling at the top of their voices. Now, Ms. Colbert was voicing out her complaints to the judge and telling her that all the while, they were together. Mr. Tubbins never told his family members about her or her babies. Trust me, she was furious about it.
When he hid our marriage, he hid my pregnancy, he didn't want nobody to know that we was even getting married. Why don't you be honest? You call yourself a man of God. Be a man of God and be honest. Okay? Don't sit up here and try to paint me out like I'm no tramp when I was nice enough to let you in my home when you ain't have nothing.
Asked me to come. You asked me.
I'm gonna ask you. Why? I own my own property, baby.
So even the judge was about to lose her temper with Mr. Tubbins. He had no evidence to show that the twins were not his children. All his doubts rested on the fact that he felt Ms. Colbert slept with his family members. To make things even worse, he had never seen the twins since they were born. He wasn't making any sense to the judge anymore, so he decided to raise the argument about how the conception dates for the twins didn't add up to him. But Ms. Colbert was beyond ready for that fight, trust me.
The conception date is completely off. When we went to the hospital, the doctor said that she conceived on November 20th. We didn't have sex until November 30th.
No, we didn't.
Your Honor.
We had sex a couple days before the 28th, and then we had sex for the second time on the 28th. So we had sex 2 times in a week in that week.
The moment of truth was finally here, but the air was thick with uncertainty. What would the outcome be? Is he the father, or has Ms. Colbert been lying all this time? Time to see what the future holds for them.
Mr. Tubbins, you are the twins' father.
I'm sorry, I'll take care of him, but I have reason for doubt. I have reason for doubt.
Oh,
I'll
really?
take care of him, but I have reason for doubt.
Whatever.
Before you start acting silly in here off of emotion, you haven't even met your twins. You have 2 beautiful babies.
Ms. Baylor had a brief sexual relationship with Mr. Childs, at least so she put it, and the result of the encounter was her daughter. At first, Mr. Childs accepted paternity and was open to being the father of her child. But that ship sailed when Mr. Childs' wife convinced him otherwise and said the baby could not be his.
Miss Allen, you say that after a brief affair with Mr. Childs, you discovered you were pregnant with your daughter, Ms. Baylor. You intend to prove that Mr. Childs is, in fact, your daughter's father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Childs, you admit to the affair with Ms. Allen, but say she was involved with several other people around the time of conception.
Ms. Baylor was pretty direct. I'd give her that. She was asked why Mr. Childs was denying her and her baby, and her reply was sharp. She claimed he was denying her child because of his petty wife, and she had her hands wrapped all around his decisions. But Mr. Baylor came to the rescue in defending his wife.
His petty wife. She been doing that for years. She wasn't there when we were sleeping together.
or nothing. So I don't think she have anything to do with it.
So you're basically blaming his wife?
Yes.
She should blame herself, Your Honor.
What?
Why did it take you 20 years to figure out that you should get a DNA test?
Because I didn't need to go through the drama. I didn't need to go through the drama with you.
Let's talk one at a time, because I do want to understand this.
They both had different memories of how their sexual relationship started. Ms. Baylor remembered that she came over after a football game to spend some time with Mr. Childs. And that's when one thing led to another, and they ended up getting intimate. But Mr. Childs painted a whole different picture for the judge.
One day, I just came through after a football game, and he wanted to ride with me. And so we went on and had drinks or whatever. And then that's when we had sex.
Is this the night you believe you conceived, after the football game and the drinks?
Yes.
Was this the only time you were intimate with Mr. Child?
We just did it like maybe a couple times after that.
Okay, so this didn't extend for a long time. This is just a few encounters.
Yeah.
Now, Ms. Baylor found out she was pregnant. From her recollection, she claimed that when she found out about the baby, she told Mr. Childs that there was a possibility he could be the father of her baby.
You told him directly?
Yes. I told him, I said it's a possibility that she may not be.
So you said it is a possibility that she may not be yours?
Exactly.
So you acknowledge this doubt?
Yeah.
Okay, so Mr. Child?
Yes, ma'am.
How did the story go in your assessment?
Your Honor, listen, wasn't no, hey, listen, I'm trying to get at you or anything like that. No, never that. It's just a moment that happened.
As I said, they both had different stories as to how they remembered the whole situation. Mr. Childs claimed when he found out she was pregnant, he reached out to her and asked her to get a DNA test done if she believed the child was his. After that, she disappeared and didn't even tell him when she gave birth.
If you're pregnant and it's mine, let's get a DNA test. We can go ahead and get this out of the way. Have no problem with taking care of her because she would have been my first. I don't see her again for months. Probably longer than that, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Allen, when Ms. Baylor was born, you didn't invite him to the birth?
No.
Did you invite any other man?
No.
Did you inform the other possibility or the other possibilities that they may be the father as well? You did?
Yes.
There was a reason she had been quiet all this while. She was a loose cannon, believe me. Mr. Childs' wife was tired of listening to Ms. Baylor speak, so she decided to drop some truth bombs of her own in the courtroom, and they were not funny at all.
Remember me chasing her up and down the street, but she can't remember who fathered her child. Why am I living in her head rent-free, but she can't remember who fathered her child? Furthermore, Your Honor, he's always been there for our children. So this little song and dance she doing, I'm telling the truth. Why would she okay, I think it's important to know too. When we met her daughter, the daughter told us that she had tested someone else. Why didn't you test him first?
The truth was starting to pop out, and all hands were pointing at Ms. Baylor to fill in the loopholes. Apparently, a man whom her daughter didn't know reached out to her and said he had a feeling she might be his daughter, and so wanted to get a DNA test just to confirm.
Ms. Allen, you say this person was never a consideration.
No, and I told him that, but he was insisting on it. I was like, that is not, I wasn't even messing with you back then.
So the bottom line is, Ms.
She don't know. That's the bottom line.
Allen, you have not had a DNA test with any of the other true potential fathers.
Right.
So, Shinesha, Ms. Baylor, were you always told Mr. Childs was your biological father?
Ms. Baylor's daughter was one hell of a smart young lady. She wasn't going to wait around for her mother to tell her who her biological father was. It's not like she knew anyway. She reached out to Mr. Childs and spoke to him about her being his daughter. The sweet thing was that he actually didn't deny her.
Would come to me like, you're my cousin, TJ's your dad. I'm like, I don't know who TJ is. Who is TJ? I went about it myself. I found him on Facebook, hit him up, and I said, look, I don't know what's going on, but I do actually want to know.
And did I ever once deny you?
Nah, you never did.
Never once. Never once. A child looking for a father, Your Honor, and I stand a chance of being there, I'm gonna be there.
Mr. Childs was not a bad man after all. She actually made several efforts to meet Ms. Baylor's daughter when she was much younger. Well, guess what? He actually did meet her. But the problem was Ms. Baylor. She just wasn't being very truthful with her daughter.
11 years ago, you would have been 9, Miss Baylor.
Yes, ma'am.
So you made an attempt to meet Miss Baylor at 9 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
But you weren't informed of any of this till you were 14.
No, ma'am. I met her. I sat down and talked to her at Miss Allen's house.
I felt like I never saw this man in my life. Like when people was telling me when I was 14, I'm like, I don't know nobody named TJ. I don't remember him.
Well, it's time we brought the cut-tunes down on this plot twist, wouldn't you say? It was time to find out the truth and know if the craziness was all worth it. The moment of truth is here, people. Brace yourselves for the results.
Mr. Child, you are not the father. I'm very sorry, Miss Baylor.
It's okay, Your Honor. You know, at the same time.
It's okay, honey.
I would like to apologize to the both of you for that, and we can move on.
Ms. McIntyre and her mother were absolutely certain that Mr. Wilson was her baby's biological father. She claimed the only reason he wasn't accepting the baby was because he wanted to live a single life. But Mr. Wilson had more than enough proof to make him certain he couldn't be the father.
Ms. McIntyre, you and your mother stand before me claiming that you are 100% certain that Mr. Wilson is your 3-year-old son, Jashawn's biological father. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Right, Mr. Wilson, you say you have more evidence than this court has ever seen before to prove that Ms. McIntyre cheated on you numerous times.
Their relationship started on Facebook, and Ms. McIntyre was already in love with this young man. In no time, their conversation got pretty intense, and Mr. Wilson was already telling her he would give her the world. Well, that never really happens now, does it?
Talking on Facebook, he shared a couple of pictures with me. He shared a picture like this. I thought he was very cute. He said he was gonna take care of me and my daughter.
On Facebook, he was already gonna take care of you and your daughter?
Yeah, he sold me a dream.
You had never met?
No, we never met before.
Okay.
So we finally wanted to meet up, and when he got off the bus, I seen this. He catfished me.
As I said, it was all too good to be true. After having their cute conversations on Facebook, it was finally time for them to meet in person. When they finally did, Ms. McIntyre couldn't believe what she saw. She claimed she had been catfished.
I'm like, what happened? Like, I wanted to see this, but I got this.
Is it a totally different picture, or is it just good angles?
It's good angles.
What can I show
or something, I don't know.
Did you try to catfish her, Mr. Wilson?
No, lies, all the way around. I'm sexy, why I need to catfish somebody?
Right.
Is you serious?
Mr. Wilson was being completely honest in the courtroom. Well, at least so he claimed. He said he wasn't in the courtroom to deny the child and say he wasn't the father, but he just had doubts. And Mr. Wilson needed to be sure he wasn't taking someone else's child, which, if you ask me, makes a lot of sense. But where are these doubts coming from?
I want to be honest, I'm not here to say I'm denying my kid, but at the same time too, Miss McIntyre, kind of ratchet at the same time.
When you say kind of ratchet, are you indicating or inferring that she sleeps around?
Yes, Your Honor.
I don't believe that he's saying that. This guy is full of it.
Jumping right in after Ms. McIntyre gave birth. She had her baby quite well and all right, but the question now was, did she tell Mr. Wilson she had a baby? She claimed she did, but Mr. Wilson slammed back at her and said she never reached out to him at all.
Did you tell Mr. Wilson?
Nope. Nope, not until after the fact. They claim that they didn't have no way.
Serious?
They claimed they didn't have no way of getting in contact with me. They called me after the fact he was conceived. I wasn't at the hospital.
No, he was not at the hospital because
none of that, because they didn't want me to be there.
He didn't have.
Period.
Why wouldn't we want him to be there?
Period, because she don't like me, just like I don't like her.
He didn't have a ride. That was his
excuse.
excuse.
Well, it was from argument to the next, with Ms. McIntyre, her mom, and Mr. Wilson wanting to rip out their throats. Mr. Wilson's name was never put on the child's birth certificate because he never made it to the hospital, but since the baby came into the world, he hasn't done a single thing.
Hasn't done anything for him?
Not to my knowledge.
And believe it or not, if this baby not mine, I'm not gonna.
But it is yours.
I'm not.
But it is yours.
You haven't did anything.
I got a 1-year-old daughter. I take care of faithfully.
You never
That's
did
the thing.
anything anyway.
It is yours.
So I want to understand your doubt, Mr. Wilson.
He was ready to spill everything he believed to be true. Mr. Wilson claimed that the proof that made him feel the baby wasn't his was the fact that he kept getting texts from people he knew, saying that Ms. McIntyre had been sleeping with several other men.
I got texts that somebody that I personally knew face to face was messing around with Ms. McIntyre around the same time I was messing around with Ms. McIntyre.
So do you have that proof here?
Okay, then, hold on, not only that.
You have that proof here? No.
Not only that, though. My thing is this, not only that, I have called Ms. McIntyre in her phone
Where's the text?
a couple of times with other dudes offering favors for jobs.
Well, he did let the cat out of the box, and he sure didn't feel bad for it. He claimed after he found out Ms. McIntyre had been cheating on him, he went on what I would like to call a cheating spree. Oh, he was sleeping with everybody and anybody he could find.
So yeah, I was hurt. So I went out there, I was super cheating. You know what I'm saying? I served.
Yeah,
super cheating.
When you come back,
I was super cheating.
With every transies, right?
I was super cheating. You feel me? Because at the point, I'm like, all right, this relationship ain't not going over.
Because super cheating.
Yeah, super. I'm gonna say super cheating.
It's elevated.
Yeah.
Well, the suspense is finally over, and the hassle of who the dad of their child is about to be revealed. It's been a bumpy and funny ride with Mr. Wilson and Ms. McIntyre. All eyes are on the judge as she unleashes the truth. Get ready, paternity folks.
Mr. Wilson, You are his father.
Told you. Told
That's all I needed to know.
Told you ought to be ashamed.
That's all I needed to know.
You ought to be ashamed.
I needed to know that. That's my thing.
Mr. Charisma.
I needed to know that.
You got the clarity you needed, and Miss McIntyre and Mom, you
right,
said
God.
you wanted your son to know his father.